Linux Mint 23 is coming at Christmas 2026, and it brings some of the biggest changes in the project's recent history. Wayland, a completely new installer, and an extended development cycle. If you've been following the Linux Mint blog, April 2026 brought some truly important announcements. Clem, the project leader, published the March news with a slight delay, and even apologised for it at the beginning of the post. But what he shared was well worth the wait. Within those few paragraphs were changes that will redefine the direction of one of the most popular Linux distributions in the world. The first and most important strategic shift: Linux Mint will adopt a longer development cycle. Until now, the team released a major version every 2 years, following the Ubuntu LTS cycle, with minor releases in between. Mint 22, 22.1, 22.2, 22.3, exactly what we've seen in the recent series. The model was predictable, but it limited the team's ambition. Always racing, always under the pressure of a fixed schedule, some features or deeper changes simply didn't have time to mature. Clem already mentioned in the February post that the project was at a crossroads and that it was the right time for significant changes. The decision to move to a longer cycle is the answer to that challenge. The Linux landscape is evolving rapidly. Wayland, new installation standards, new security requirements, and a shorter cycle doesn't allow for real adaptation or ambitious development. The project's mission remains simple: fix bugs and improve the desktop. But that takes time. A longer cycle means the team can work more deeply on each component without sacrificing quality for speed. What hasn't been decided yet is exactly how long the cycle will be, what the minor releases will look like, whether they'll be frozen like before or include more aggressive updates, possibly even semi-rolling, and whether official alpha releases will be introduced. The team doesn't want to rush these decisions. They want clarity, but without compromise. That's precisely the core message of this period. Knowing that the cycle will be longer, the natural question is, when will it be released? The official answer is Christmas 2026. Some might have expected something sooner, but when you take into account everything that's been announced, it becomes clear that the team has an enormous amount of work ahead. Ubuntu 26.04 LTS entered beta in March 2026, and even now, the stable version hasn't been released yet, which means that Linux Mint is currently running on a foundation that is still being finalized. It's an additional challenge, but also proof that the team wants to be as prepared as possible ahead of time. That's exactly why they've already started working, without waiting for all strategic decisions to be fully finalized. Christmas as a target date is not random. The Linux Mint team has a nice tradition of offering users holiday gifts. Christmas 2026 is a planned target, not a guaranteed promise. But the team's open communication about their timeline shows maturity and respect for the community. Linux Mint will drop Ubiquity and adopt Live Installer, the same installer already used by LMDE, Linux Mint Debian Edition. Ubiquity is the installer created by Canonical for Ubuntu and has been used by Linux Mint since its early days. It is functional but old, with clear limitations and a long history of compatibility issues. What does Live Installer bring compared to Ubiquity? It adds support for OEM installations. You can prepare a system for an end user without fully configuring it yourself, which is essential if you want to install Mint on machines intended for sale or distribution. It also provides full support for both BIOS and EFI, meaning it works on both older and modern systems. It includes secure boot support, an increasingly important requirement on modern PCs, and it supports LVM and LUKS, meaning you can set up logical volumes and disk encryption directly from the installer. Unifying the installer between Mint and LMDE also simplifies development work. Instead of maintaining two separate codebases, the team now has a single tool that can be improved for both variants at the same time. It's a smart, long-term architectural decision. If a new user's first experience with Linux Mint is the installation, that experience needs to be flawless. A modern, clear, reliable installer that supports all important scenarios is the distribution's calling card. Now we get to the topic that has probably generated the most excitement in the community: stable Wayland support. Linux Mint has been one of the last major distributions to firmly stick with X11. The reason wasn't ignorance or resistance to change, but the very philosophy the team applies to every decision. You don't ship something until it works well for the average user. Wayland has existed in Linux Mint before, but only in an experimental form. In practice, it was there for the curious and those willing to tolerate bugs, not for the everyday user who just wants a system that works. Cinnamon has made huge progress in terms of Wayland compatibility, and now, for the first time, the team is treating Wayland not as an experiment, but as a core component of the upcoming release. The first concrete sign of this shift is already visible in the test build, Cinnamon 6.7 Unstable, which includes a completely new Wayland screensaver. The team wants to test it as early as possible in the cycle, not at the end. By introducing Wayland components early, they gain the entire extended cycle for refinement and fixes. So, what does a stable Wayland actually mean for the end user? It means better compatibility with high DPI displays and fractional scaling, a hot topic, especially for users with modern high-resolution laptops. It means improved security, as Wayland isolates applications more effectively than the X11 model. It means better graphics performance on modern hardware. Most importantly, it means you no longer have to enable an experimental option and hope everything works. There are also real challenges that can't be ignored. Some older applications don't work natively on Wayland and require X-Wayland, a compatibility layer that runs X11 apps inside a Wayland compositor. The team will need to handle this transition carefully, ensuring that the user experience doesn't regress compared to current X11 sessions. But the direction is clear and irreversible. Linux Mint is moving toward stable Wayland. Not rushed, not compromised, but methodically and patiently in the style that made the project successful. Beyond the strategic announcements, the blog also offers a glimpse into the current state of the test build, provisionally called Mint 23 Alpha. Clem even jokes that Alpha is a fitting name, since it's unlikely to survive until the beta stage, a bit of developer humor you'll appreciate if you've followed the team's posts over the years. The final name, versioning scheme, and all details will only be decided once the release cycle strategy is fully defined. Until then, Mint 23 Alpha is simply a working name that allows the team to begin actual development without waiting for all administrative decisions to be made. The alpha is based on Ubuntu 26.04 LTS as its package foundation, providing a solid base and long-term support. It runs on the Linux kernel 7, the latest major kernel release, with significant improvements in performance and hardware compatibility. Cinnamon 6.7 is included in its unstable version, already featuring the new Wayland screensaver. CJS 140, Cinnamon's JavaScript engine, has also been updated. And of course, Live Installer replaces Ubiquity. Right now, the team is mainly focused on the system base and the installer. Next, they'll shift their attention to desktops, toolkits, and applications. Most importantly, they say they're already feeling the benefits of the longer development cycle. They finally have the time to do things right. Linux Mint 23 is not just a routine update. It's a reset in how the team approaches development. More time, more ambition, more quality. Stable Wayland, a modern installer, and Ubuntu 26.04 LTS base, all coming together in a release planned for Christmas 2026. Is it worth the wait? Based on everything we've seen in the alpha, I'd say yes. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to be the first to know when Mint 23 arrives, and leave a comment below. See you in the next video.